Welcome to Money Talk, making good investing easy.
This episode is all about getting your financial house in order.
From short-term savings to long-term investments.
We'll be looking at
Opening up about our finances.
ditching the gender myths.
And learning when to bring our pensions together and when not to.
We'll be talking to two Fidelity experts, Paris Anand on active investing after the digital revolution,
And Aisha Akbar about the importance of diversification.
First up, we all love to chat, but not when it comes to money.
Some things are easy to talk about. Which actor is James Bond to you?
Oh, Sean Connery all the way, that accent.
Pierce Brosnan, The Irishman.
It has to be Roger Moore.
Who is your greatest Wimbledon champion?
John McEnroe, definitely.
Oh, it's got to be Serena.
Andre Agassi.
What was the first single you bought?
Oh, Sade, Your Love is King, on vinyl. Showing my age.
Mr. Wazzo, Flat Beat from the Levi's adverts.
A huge Madonna fan, so True Blue.
What are your financial goals? Some things aren't. Sometimes talking to others can help make things a little easier.
I'm 28, so my big goal at the minute is that elusive deposit on my first home. It seems so far away, but I'm using a stocks and shares ISA to try and get there, try and give me a little bit of growth on that. What about you, Joe?
Well, I'm 43, so my focus at the moment is really to make up for those motherhood years. So when I had my children, I took time out to be at home, work part-time, so the contributions were not quite as they should be. So that's my focus at the moment. But I've also embarked on my first ISA, which is actually really not for me. It's for my daughter for her first car.
Oh, and what about you, Janet?
Well, I'm 53 and my goal is to retire at 60. So at the moment I'm concentrating on my workplace pension, extra contributions, matched contributions from the company, free money. But I still think I might go down the stocks and shares ISA route as well, Dan. Yeah.
It's amazing. We've all got these different goals, and sometimes you feel that no one else can understand what you're saving for. But the products are the same. So we've always talked about ISAs and pensions. That it just seems like we're all using them.
I guess it's just using them in different ways, balancing them what's right for you at your time, balancing the, getting enough into your pension and then using your other ISAs to achieve your sort of shorter term goals, if you like.
I'm looking to retire at 60. 7 years in a stocks and shares ISA is going to give me a much better return than sitting in my online account. So I'm definitely going to go down that route, Dan, definitely.
There we go. Excellent. Love it.
It really is good to talk, but no one likes being told what to do. As women and girls, we know all about this. The trick is knowing what to pay attention to and what to ignore. Little girls dream big.
And that's exactly what every little girl should do.
Become the world's best.
Whatever.
Cue the checklist. Marry Prince Charming and have the wedding of your dreams.
Get on the property ladder.
And the career ladder.
And climb as high as you can.
Don't forget to have a baby.
Tick-tock, there goes your biological clock.
And then you grow up.
Prince Charming turns out to be a frog.
The country pile ends up a lot smaller.
Your career ladder has a few unexpected twists and turns.
By the time we're in our 20s, we're most likely over the fact that we didn't have a pony as a child.
Okay with the fact that becoming a real-life princess is not going to happen. And secretly relieved that we don't yet have the husband, 4 kids, 2 dogs, cat and a hamster.
Can you be Superwoman? Of course you can, but be your own version. Who wants to be a cartoon cutout anyway?
This is a checklist for every little girl who's ever dreamed big.
And for every big girl who wants to live her dreams wherever life takes you.
Invest in an ISA.
Don't forget your pension.
Harness the power of compounding.
Don't get into debt.
Stop dreaming.
And start living the life you want today.
And to do that, you have to be financially secure. One way to achieve this is to take control of your finances by bringing together all of your pensions. Ed Monk takes a look at the pros and cons.
You'll always feel better once those everyday jobs are out the way. Our finances are no exception. A little bit of time and effort can make things cleaner and more manageable in the long run. On average, we each have 11 different employers throughout our lives. That means that the pension pots we collect along the way can be a very mixed bag. Bringing all your defined contribution pensions together in one place can make them more manageable, giving you a single summary of how much you've saved and where your money is invested, so you can see a clearer retirement outlook. But there are some times when it doesn't pay to consolidate. Sometimes it's better to keep your pension pots separate. If the annual charge you're paying is less than wherever you're thinking of consolidating to, it will cost you less to leave your money where it is. There may be exit charges if you move a pension, or valuable benefits of an old scheme that you might not want to give up. For those with large retirement savings, it can be useful to have access to smaller pension pots to help your financial planning. If you decide to consolidate, you can do it inside a self-invested personal pension or SIP, or perhaps inside your current workplace pension scheme where the charge might be slightly lower. Or maybe you're happy to keep things separate after all. But you won't know what's best unless you check. Either way, you'll feel better once it's done.
Now you've relaxed about talking money, you've got your finances in order. Next up is deciding how and where to invest.
And a key decision for all investors is whether to try and beat the market with an active approach or to just track the market with a passive fund. So Micah went to speak with Fidelity's Paris Anand about active and passive investing and also about the impact that technology is having on this debate.
Technology has transformed our world. With a single tap or swipe, you can pay your bill, book a room or a ride home. Technology can even read your mind. It can take you places you never thought you'd go. Technology is making life simpler, easier, and cheaper. And investing seems to be no exception. Paris, one of the biggest investment debates of our time is active investing versus passive investing. And within this debate, technology has also played a role.
Yes, so interestingly, both strategies, active investing and passive investing, have been around for a long time. I mean, passive investing has been with us since the 1950s, 1960s. But where technology has really played a part has been in lowering the cost of passive management, things like electronic trading, market making, price transparency. That's led to this enormous rise in the number of passive strategies and index funds.
So active investors really are stock pickers and fund managers, but the attraction of passive investing is that it is cheap. And advocates of this type of investing say, why buy an active manager if few of them tend to outperform the market? What do you say to this?
When we look at sort of the performance of active managers, one of the ways in which they really deliver value to the clients is actually in preserving capital during moments of weak markets. So I think that's one of the things that I do think for investors it is worth paying up for.
We are in the second longest running bull market since World War II, and that environment really has benefited passive investors. But there's no guarantee that this will continue indefinitely.
Oh, I think you're absolutely right, because effectively, you get exposure to the market index, which is sort of rising. The fact that you're paying a lower price means that there's no sort of trade-off between that. And I think absolutely that's one of the things that's led to this rise in passive investing. But I think one of the most interesting things to note about this is that the more passive investors there are in the market, the less efficient the market becomes. It becomes less efficient because a greater number of people don't care about the value of what they're buying. So actually, not only do we see at the point where the cycle changes, the risk of there being more volatility in the market, but actually increases the opportunity for active managers in the next cycle.
Because active managers can tap into those market inefficiencies.
Absolutely. The whole premise of active management relies on identifying individual inefficiencies and benefiting from those. So if the market in general is becoming less efficient, hence you get more opportunities for active managers.
There's little doubt that technology has made passive investing easier and cheaper. But the rise of passive investing has also created opportunities for the discerning active investor. And when technology lets you down, you do need the human touch. Now Tom, we're talking active investing, and I know a key thing behind Fidelity's Select 50 list of favourite funds is picking the best fund managers.
That's right, and even when you've picked the right manager, you still need to mix them together into an effective portfolio.
Tom went to go speak to Aisha Akbar about how she does this in the new Fidelity Select 50 Balanced Fund.
There's only one thing worse than a lack of choice, and that's too much of it. We've all been the child in the sweet shop. We want it all, but have to choose. It's not so very different when we come to pick our investments. At Fidelity, we offer more than 2,000 funds from over 100 managers. It can be hard to know where to start.
100 grams of the apple and custard, 200 of the aniseed balls, and one of these, please.
When you suffer from the tyranny of choice, it's good to know there's someone who can make up their mind. Aisha Akbar is the manager of the Fidelity Select 50 Balanced Fund. Aisha, how do you go about picking and mixing the managers for the fund?
It's a good analogy, pick and mix, Tom, because that's essentially what we're doing. The first stage is picking the managers, and that's the job of our manager research team, 12 analysts whose day job it is to scour the entire investment universe looking for the managers that they think will outperform over the longer term. And all of this research boils down into a high conviction list of active managers covering asset classes such as global equities, fixed income and alternatives.
Okay, so once the managers have been picked for the Select 50 list, it's your job to mix them.
Exactly, so mixing them, providing different asset classes exposures. So on average, the balanced fund will have half of its exposure in equities and risky assets and the other half in more defensive assets such as fixed income and cash.
Okay, so how do you go about mixing those strategies to create the fund?
So the mix of asset classes really depends on two things. Firstly, I have to think about how markets are going to behave over the shorter and medium term. So I can increase the exposure to equities, for example, if I think the prospects for stock markets are good over the shorter term. The second thing I have to think about is how to combine the managers together. And this is not just about picking managers that are going to outperform, because it's involving understanding how managers are going to react in different market environments and blending them together to make sure we have good balanced exposure to the markets they represent. So we've picked the managers, we've mixed the asset classes, we've put it all together in one neat package.
We all like the idea of lots of choice, but sometimes it's much simpler just to leave it to the experts.
Hopefully this episode of Money Talk has got you thinking about how to make the most of your money.
And don't forget, you can get guidance on savings, retirement and investment from me and my team on all Fidelity's digital channels. Sweet?
Yes.
Thanks for watching.
Goodbye.